It's time for episode 27 of the Just a Sec podcast. I'm Jared Sandler. I really appreciate you listening to these conversations. If this is the first time, well, welcome. If you've listened to several or just one or two in the past, thanks for coming back. If you'd like to listen to more, you can find them easily either on Twitter at Jared Sandler or just go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/SandlerJ1. And while you're there, I'd appreciate if you would consider subscribing. It's free. And it helps, so you can do a good deed and hopefully get some enjoyable content. The guy I'm interviewing today is named Cooper Raiff, and you might not have heard of him, and that's okay. You probably will hear a lot from him and about him moving forward, though. I met Cooper when he was a freshman in high school at our shared alma mater, Green Hill, here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I was just finishing my time in Great Falls, Montana. It was my first post-college broadcasting job for the Great Falls Voyagers. My next job, which was going to be in Michigan with the Great Lakes Loons and an ESPN radio affiliate, didn't start until late February. So I had what for some people is a summer to kill, just happened to be more of a late fall winter. So I decided to help out at my alma mater, Green Hill, coaching alongside my high school basketball coach and a very close friend of mine, Jay Andrews. Well, Cooper was a freshman, and he wasn't quite on varsity, but he'd sometimes practice with the varsity, and he was a really, really good shooter. Not only that, he always made me laugh. But to me, Cooper Raiff was the kid who'd stand in the corner and knock down three after three after three, and whenever he joined a conversation, you knew you were going to have a good time. Fast forward several years, and Cooper went to Occidental in Southern California, and it turns out he is now an award-winning film director and creator after his film won the big award in the 2020 South by Southwest Festival that didn't even happen. We talked to Cooper about his journey into the entertainment industry, the pandemic and how that actually maybe helped him, and the growth of not only his name, but his movie and the journey that he is now a part of. This is episode 27 of the Just a Sec podcast with my friend, Cooper Raiff. All right, Cooper, so I always like to start with this. You can go in whatever direction you'd like.
Okay.
Growing up, what were your hobbies, your interests? When you think back to your childhood, what stands out, influences? You don't have to answer all of those, but what are the things when you think back to your childhood that really jump out to you?
I was a baller growing up. I liked to play basketball, and that took up a lot of my time, in elementary school, actually. You know, the Texas Titans. Have you ever heard of that AAU basketball team? So that was my big break. My first big break in life was in third grade. I played for the Texas Titans. And so I was all about basketball through second grade through probably sixth grade. And that was all of my memories from that time are just basketball and playing basketball. And then I started getting into acting. And so I went to this Dallas Young Actors Studio. So it was eighth grade. I don't know if I looked online and was I want to act, Mom. I want to do some acting classes. But so I went to that studio from eighth grade to my senior year of high school. So it was kind of basketball was my first main hobby, and then acting. And there wasn't any kind of, I didn't have a lot of hobbies. I was a one-track mind guy. It went from basketball to acting. And then I played basketball a little bit in high school, but I wasn't as passionate about it.
But you could shoot.
I could shoot because I played my whole life, but I wasn't, it would have been awesome if I really cared about basketball in high school. But I was kind of the white kid in the corner shooting threes.
But you really kind of so that's how I know Cooper.
Yes.
That's how we met. We both went to Green Hill, and I went back for, I guess it was it would be the equivalent of a summer screw around job before stuff gets real, except because of baseball and my schedule, my quote unquote summer job was in the winter.
Right.
And I went back and coached. And
it was my freshman year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when I met you. And at first you were just this kid who was hilarious and made me laugh whenever you opened your mouth. And then I was like, oh, wow, he can actually shoot.
Yeah, I think I was always a shooter, but I also just wasn't that tall, and I wasn't athletically gifted at all. So I was the shooter.
Do you still play at all?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I try to. I go to I'll play at the park with my friends sometimes,
Yeah.
but I do miss it a ton.
So, I mentioned that you were, from the minute I met you, like someone who would make me and other people laugh. Was that a quality you always had? Was that something that that started to develop once you started the acting program? Like how?
No, I don't. I think I've become less funny. I feel like over the years. I think when I was younger, I just was very ADHD kid who liked to like people please and like to in my family, I'm like the person that makes people laugh when there's tension, if there's tension. Not that there's tons of tension in my family,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was no, I think you met me around my peak, like I want to make everyone laugh phase.
That was the
Yeah, but as soon as as I got into acting, I think I became way less funny. Like I was on improv in high school, but like by my senior year, I think I wasn't as funny because I didn't think about making people laugh as much.
So you mentioned the transition from really focusing on basketball to acting and the entertainment side. When you first started, like I guess people will try hobbies and they give it a window of however many sessions or days or months. And it's like, all right, it's just I'm not feeling it, or yeah, I love this, or maybe I'm not sure, but I want to keep going.
Right.
What was it about your time with that acting program that you were like, yes, like I want to do this?
Well, I think I just ultimately am a person who like gets obsessed and like I'm an obsessive person, I'd say, and so and I really think a lot of it was I wanted to play basketball, and then at a certain point, it was around like 8th grade when you realize, oh, I'm not going to be a great basketball player because my body is not built to be a great basketball player, and so I was like, oh, I can act for sure. There's no obstacles there in terms of my physical ability, but so I kind of just like turned into this like movie lover because like the studio was very much like film acting, and so a lot of the teachers there and like acting coaches were big on movies, and I spent a lot of high school watching a lot of movies and stuff, and but yeah, in high school from like my freshman year to really my junior year, I was just into acting, and like I did theater at Green Hill, and but then my senior year, I think what happened was there was Green Hill hired a new, I don't know if our old like theater director person retired. Yeah, Miss Rogers retired my junior year, and then for my senior year they brought in this woman named Catherine Hopkins, who was like hugely amazing, and she kind of, I think right away, like right after meeting her, she was like, we put on this play like Our Town, and it was great, but she really was focused on like cultivating these young artists in her theater department, and so like I think that summer I had been like writing some scripts, and I was like, and one day I was like telling her about it, and she's like, well, what if we just like did a class, just you and me, where we talk about writing and we do writing assignments? And I was like, what? Okay. And so my whole senior year, I like each trimester I like had like this course that was just me and Catherine Hopkins, just like, and she's an amazing writing teacher, but that's not what she went to Green Hill to do. But like she kind of turned me into someone who loved to write and would write all the time. So, and then the third trimester of my senior year, I actually did a play where I wrote the play, and then I also acted in it because I also still love to act. And so I think that's what led to, like 3 years later, I'm making a movie that I wrote, and I'm also acting in it.
Was that the third trimester thing? Was that like the senior project or whatever that you were able to?
Yeah.
Just curious. So, the person a person who helped cultivate my love for movies was Corbin Doyle.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. So he's a longtime teacher at Green Hill.
Yeah.
He wasn't as much on the theater side, but more did film appreciation type stuff. Did you do any of that stuff?
What's so weird is I had this acting studio, and I was really into theater at Green Hill, and for some reason we just truly never crossed paths. And it's so weird because Green Hill is actually known for their like film department. Corbin Doyle is like a big name at like South by Southwest, which is where my movie went.
That's
And so like
interesting.
people are asking like, oh my gosh, this kid from Green Hill, you must have like been making short films in high school with Corbin Doyle. And I was like, not at
No.
all. I was just never interested in making movies. I was always interested in acting. And then my senior year of high school, Catherine Hopkins really cultivated my love for writing. Like I'm not like a filmmaker lover in that way. I'm not like, gosh, I love Quentin Tarantino. Like I'm not that person at all.
Okay, so let's get into your film House.
Yes.
And that's the proper name we were
Yes.
talking before.
Oh,
So
well, we can say Crap House. No
Okay.
cussing. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure what the rules are on like the internet. I think we're fine, but I want to make sure people know the actual name, and we'll.
Yes.
But and it's been so the journey of this film is incredible. Not just the creation of it, but then your South by Southwest experience, which we'll get into, which totally was interrupted by the pandemic and and the highs and lows. We'll get into all of that. I guess I want to start with, and I've read about this, and I think it's awesome. You know, you hear from artists who their work is very much an extension of their feelings and their emotions, and as opposed to me going and writing about aliens on Mars.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like House is very much your story. And so what was how did it all come about? You were having these feelings, which I'd love for you to explain, and then, all right, I want to take these feelings and maybe do something.
Well, what's interesting is, so like I said, I was really into writing. And so my like freshman year of college, I was writing a bunch, and there was like a time where I was like, I went to Occidental, studied media arts and culture, which is like kind of like film critical theory. It's not, you don't really learn screenwriting. I didn't go to school for film. I just outside of school was writing a lot. And, but basically what happened is my sophomore year, I had this TV show that I had written. And it was like I had a pilot and a Bible, and my plan was to get people in Hollywood to read it. And my thought literally was, I was so naive and dumb that I was like, people are going to love this show, and it's going to become a television show. And so I tried to send it to all these people. I had made like some kind of little connections here and there. Like I worked with this casting director, and I was like, this casting director is going to get this show into the right hands, and it's going to be awesome. But then at some point I realized how stupid that was. And it was like my spring break of my sophomore year where I was like, what if no one's going to read anything that I write, because it's just no one takes that time to read something that some random kid wrote. So I was like, I need to make something. And so for spring break my sophomore year.
Hold on, can I ask you, did someone, was that just like you thinking and like doing critical thinking of how I can get exposure? Did someone like encourage you like, hey, you've got to make something? Because
I think, well, that's what everybody tells you to do. Like the people that I look up to, who we can talk about, is the Duplass brothers, and they're very big on, like, they wrote this book, and the whole book is literally just saying, make your own movies. But the thing was, like I said earlier, I don't think of myself as a filmmaker at all. Like I think of myself as, I love to write and I love to act, but like putting a movie together was like the furthest thing from my mind, and it's not something that I really wanted to do. But then that spring break, I was kind of like in this like place where I was unhappy and feeling desperate, and I just like wanted someone to read Helen Harper, this TV show. So I was like, I need to just make a movie to get people to read the show. And so then I made this movie. I wrote this script for this movie in 5 days. That was the beginning of House, like that movie that we made over spring break. And to answer your question about how personal House is, the reason why I was able to write a script in 5 days was because it was just so personal, and it was just like me telling my college story, which is basically just the movie that we made over spring break and House. Like what it's about is a boy who's a freshman in college who's basically dealing with living in a crappy house for the first time in his life. Like he had a great childhood and had great safety nets throughout his first 18 years, and then gets to college and is without a safety net for the first time. But yeah, so that was what the spring break movie was actually about. It was really bad, and it was really poorly made because it was just me and my best friend and my girlfriend at the time. And so like we're literally like holding, so like my friend who's never held a camera before is like holding stolen equipment from our college, and like you have to boom scenes, but we only had 3 people, so like we're doing scenes. Like I'm in a scene with my girlfriend, and I'm like miking, like doing the boom, holding the boom while I'm in the scene with her. So it was like a total show. But what ended up happening, I found a way to like edit it into something watchable, and I put it on YouTube. And my plan all along was to try to get it into someone's hand so they could read my show. And so I put it on YouTube, and then I tweeted the link to Jay Duplass, and the tweet literally just said, "Bet you won't click on this link and then email me after at craiff@oxy.edu." And that night he emailed me and said, and like my tweet didn't say like what I want out of this. It was just like, "Bet you won't email me." And so he emailed me saying, "I won the bet. My wife and I watched your movie and we liked it. If you ever want to talk about this sort of thing, we should get lunch." Because he didn't know what to say. Like,
yeah,
you didn't
prompt.
Yeah. Right. So then I emailed him back, and I was like, "If this is Will, you're the worst. I hate you. But if this is Jay, we should get lunch whenever you want." And he's like, "This is Jay. Let's get lunch this week." So we ended up meeting for lunch, and my whole plan is to give him the TV show. Like that's the whole reason why I made. And at the time, it wasn't called. It was called Madeline and Cooper. It was just about like a sophomore and a freshman. And so I brought to the lunch, like a total idiot, just brought this huge binder that was this Bible, like this TV show Bible. And I handed it to him, and I was like, "I really think you'll love this TV show. It has nothing to do with the movie you saw, but like the reason why I made that was to try to get you to read this." And he was like, "I'm going to politely decline. I don't want to read this at all. But I think you should remake that movie." And my whole like reaction, because I made the movie to get this show read, so I was like, "That's not why I'm here.
No, this is
this is not what's important." And he's like, No. There's something. You should make this movie with someone who's held a camera before, and who like with a sound person who can actually mic you in scenes, because there was something about it that like it really felt like 3 people made this movie." And so over the next year, he helped me make Madeline and Cooper into Shithouse. And like because it's Jay Duplass, he like got all these people to help me out.
Okay, so I've got a million questions from this. When I was reading about this, and there have been a lot of really cool stories that have been published about the movie and the journey and various parts, the tweet.
Yes.
So I'm not, I'm in an industry where I've got a lot more that I'd like to accomplish, but there are people who were in my shoes in college, excuse me, who have reached out and they want, "Hey, will you listen to my tape?"
Right,
Stuff
right.
like that. And
Yes.
one of the things they always ask is, how do you stand out? How do you? And so what amazes me about the tweet, how like I don't know, maybe you've never been in this situation. I know like when I liked a girl early on,
Yeah.
I'd write a text and then I'd erase it. And then I'd write a text and I'd erase it. Like I'd want to make the perfect text.
Yeah.
Was that tweet like what?
That tweet was truly probably 4 months in the making. Like as soon as I started had the idea to make a movie over spring break, like when I started writing that script, my first thought was that tweet, really.
Like that wording.
That wording I think I probably mulled over for like probably a month. Like while I'm editing the movie, I'm thinking about how am I going to get it into Jay's hands?
Because you got to get it to stand out, right? Like
Right.
if someone ever tweeted me like, "Bet you won't do this," I am 110% going to listen to the.
Yeah, it's a good tweet.
Like that tweet, like because if you, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to believe that, you think back like the domino effect of like your life, and that like I'd like to believe that I'd find a way to have success if this didn't happen or if that.
Right.
But like if you would have just had a generic, "Hey, I created
watch
this,
my
I'd really
thing."
love,
Yeah,
like
right.
that's. I'm sure a lot of people.
Yeah,
do
and
that.
also, well, the other thing is, there's millions of interviews with Jay Duplass online, so I felt like before I met him, these people, and so I think something about like what I thought of his sense of humor and like who I thought he was as a person. I was like, "He's no way he won't click on this if I write this."
Was he the only one that you sent that tweet to, or
Yeah,
did you send it to?
That's
okay.
what's weird too. Is there was also something where I was like, I need to make this so specific and not just because if Jay were to have seen like, "Oh, he sent this to Mark too. Oh,
Yeah.
he sent this to Judd Apatow too." Like, there's something that's not as sincere.
Like I want you,
Right, and I think that had a lot to do with it. Is like the movie is not very watchable, but like I think something about the tweet and something about the fact that he knew, like, I made this movie, which he knows is to know what it takes to make a movie, and then also know this kid made this for me to see. I think that's why he kept watching.
That lunch with Jay Duplass. So you mentioned already that you gave him this binder, the TV show. What was it?
Helen Harper.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What else do you remember about that lunch?
It was the best lunch. It was the best day of my life, probably. Like we hit it off in a way that, because like I went into it right away, like all I was thinking about was Helen Harper, and so right away we started talking about it, and right away he was like, no, that's not why we're having this lunch. And so I let the disappointment go, and then we just ended up having, we probably spent 4.5, 5 hours together. We like got lunch, and then we ended up like walking around his neighborhood and just like talking about, because we just like, we're very spiritually aligned. The things that we love and care about are very similar, and we also had like similar childhoods and like similar dreams. And for him, I think it was like talking to someone, talking to a younger version of himself who like had all of the passion, and I think that excites him and it reminds him like why he loves doing what he's doing. And so we just had like this really amazing day and became really close friends. And like him helping me make House is just one part of like our really meaningful, awesome relationship that we have, that we like started that day. So it was a really great day.
Okay, well, so you mentioned that. What else was important? I hate to say like what else was important, like it's a transactional relationship.
No,
but you know that relationship's obviously important to you, and it's not ending now that.
Right. Well, like just, I don't know. He's just a really good friend, and like he checks in on me, and we check in on each other, and like he knows everything about my family. I know everything about his family. I wouldn't say we're creative partners at all, but like we read each other's stuff all the time, and like he's constantly writing and constantly working and constantly, and then he trusts me to read stuff and give him feedback, and so we have like that creative friendship. But more than that, he's just like such a good mentor and like such a caring person who like wants to help me make a movie, but wants me also to like come out of it okay. Like he wants me to make the best movie, but also he knows like how hard it is to make a movie and wants to make sure that like I don't hate making movies after making this movie. So he's just always he looks out for me in a way that is really cool.
At what point in the process did you have that first like, oh my gosh, like this S is real? Like,
with the movie or
yeah?
With just
okay.
Sure.
I was thinking movie, but what were you?
No. Yeah, with the movie, or like just like with the fact that the movie was going to get made, or like that the movie was good, because there's a couple. Like,
yeah. Well, okay. If it's okay, all the above.
Well, so, obviously when I got an email from Jay Duplass, that was like a moment where I was like, it's my life about to change, and that really was like a life-changing email. But it is, the interesting one is when I figured out that House was going to be a good movie, because the process of making House was, we didn't have any money and it was a nightmare. We ended up having to rush into it because we were trying to find a director for a really long time. Like we reached out to a lot of different people to try to direct this movie, which is people are like, what? You weren't going to be the director? Because I've said already, I was not wanting to be a filmmaker. And so I made that movie over spring break. Like I guess I was the director, but like that was just because there was 3 people. And so when Jay was helping me make it, we were like, the whole time we were trying to find someone to help us direct this movie. And a lot of times it was like Jay was like thinking about, should I direct it? But it became clear at a certain point, we were like coming into the summer, and we realized, we have to start filming this a week before school starts back up, because we want the first week of filming to be on a college campus, or on a campus. It ended up being on like a boarding school campus, but we need that campus before it gets filled with students. So at one point, Jay was like, I think we're gonna have to do this next summer. And I was like, no, we're not gonna wait. Like that would be this summer. And so I ended up saying, what if I just direct? And Jay was like, that's what I've been thinking all along, but it's just gonna be a nightmare, because I was also acting in it. It was also like something that I had written. And so And I was also producing it because we didn't have any money, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like we didn't have like tons of bodies. So we said it's going to be a nightmare, but I think that's a good idea. You should direct. And so I ended up directing, but it was just there was this vibe on set that we were making a movie that like we didn't know if we were gonna finish. Like it was just there was something about like Jay was like the one thing about the movie that was like, okay, we can hold on to the fact that Jay's helping this movie get made. Like that means that it's gonna be okay. I think there was this feeling on set like we're making a crappy movie, all right? Like this feels so out of sorts. But like I think about the third day we did our first it was the first scene between the two main characters, and there was just like something that happened where I like realized, oh my gosh, like there's gold happening. And so from the third day on kind of went crazy because I realized this movie can be good, and so that made me work really really hard and it made me really obsessive about like getting that gold every day moving forward because I was like I know this can be good. So that's what made it even harder was like the first 2 days, I think I remember the first day I was like, oh, so this is how it's gonna be. Like it's gonna be a crapshoot. We don't have the support that we need. We don't have like the money that we need. I just have to get through this experience and try to make like something. But then the third day when we had the scene, I was like, this is gonna be freaking amazing. And so moving forward after that third day, the actress playing Maggie is really, really incredible. And also all the other actors too, like the person playing my mom is amazing. The person playing my roommate is amazing. And so having those actors, it kind of like put this like fire in my belly that I was like, this can be good, so that like it might as well be really good. So that was I think the day when I realized I think this can be really good. And then in editing,
Was Dylan Galula, is that
yes,
Maggie?
Maggie?
Okay.
Yeah. And then I think in editing too, like the second day that I got through like all of the footage, I was like, this is gonna be really good.
Okay, so doing an independent film and doing it as an unknown, other than having like Jay Duplass in your corner, but like without like a track record, what were some of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome, whether it's getting like people to play these roles, like people that have, like Dylan Galula, I mentioned, like, or was it, location stuff? Like obviously I know the money part is never easy. Like, what were some of the other challenges?
Well, I'll start with what's great about being an unknown is you can just, like you said, locations. Like, it's usually really hard to get locations, and also, like, you kind of steal locations sometimes because you don't have any money. But it was really easy because I was an unknown who could just go around saying, hey, I'm making a student film. And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, go and do your student film. And so that was actually really helpful. And Jay, like, told me, having me as your best friend in terms of getting actors, but don't ever mention me to like someone who you're trying to like. So when we were trying to like find which college we were gonna film on, like he was like, do not say my name because as soon as you say my name, they're gonna charge out the wazoo because it's Jay Duplass.
Yeah.
So it was actually very helpful in a lot of ways, but the biggest challenge, it was actually really easy to get actors because I literally the way I got Dylan was I Instagram messaged her. And it was like, and said Jay Duplass, I said his name like 15 times in the message. Like, do you want to do this movie? Jay Duplass is helping make it. Jay Duplass likes it. Jay Duplass. But and so she ended up saying yes. And the script was I think she liked. And but the biggest challenge, like not to get too deep about what making the movie was like, but the biggest challenge for me was just gaining the trust of the people that Jay Duplass got. Like, because I didn't get Jay Duplass's name is the reason why everyone was working on the set, why I got my DP, why I got the actors, why I got the awesome sound people. So like on the first day, they were looking at me with zero trust. Like they saw how young I was, they saw how inexperienced I was, and they were like, oh my God, where's Jay? Because Jay wasn't on set. So like they're looking around like, who's the leader here? I had to be the leader, and it was hard. Like it was like I wasn't a great leader. I'm not a great leader in a lot of ways. yeah, that was like the biggest struggle throughout the whole process of filming was like not knowing how to gain their trust because I had never made a movie before.
What did you learn about leadership? Because that is, I mean, you
Yeah,
are in your role, and shoot, in your roles plural, you are having to direct, and that obviously in title, but like you are directing, leading, guiding, and it's your vision, right? It's not theirs. So like,
yeah, that's what's so hard
yeah,
is no one cares about. We just didn't have any money, and there was no incentive to like they were on board. People were on board, but they weren't on board. I cared so much, especially after that third day. Like there was just something in me that was like, we need to get this specific gold. People were annoyed because like on the fourth day, I cared so much about not the vision, but like about yeah, sure the vision. I wasn't just getting through it, and it was hard to get people on my same page. And I think what I learned is like, you need a lot of money to make a good movie because then people really want to be there and like or don't feel like they're doing you a favor because that's what happens when you're not getting paid a lot is it feels like
yeah.
you shouldn't be doing more than you need to be doing. I was asking a lot of these people who were like working for nothing, and so it was difficult. But I mean, let me look more inward. I think I learned that it's important not to ever just be dismissive and never to like give up in terms of bringing people together because I think there were times a lot of times where I kind of gave up in terms of okay they're not on my team but I want to get this and like I'm in charge here so I'm just gonna like this is what's gonna happen whereas I should have guys I really care about this and I really think that it can be so good because I think if I really had done that they would have been more giving and more ready to give in a way that like because there were certain days where I was like they don't want to do this I'm the only one who wants to do this I felt very alone in a lot of ways so looking back and moving forward I think I'm always going to try to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Not that you did this for this particular reason, and you don't strike me as a vengeful person. But I know when I was young, I had experiences where I know that people were doubting what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I think of the growth that I was able to demonstrate and some rewarding conversations with people who admitted, I didn't think you were capable of this.
Yeah.
I was wrong. Did you have any of those moments, or have you had any of those conversations with people you worked with who are like, Cooper, I wasn't quite sure, but I was wrong, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think literally everybody. Like, I think I don't know if I've had a conversation where someone straight up said, yo, I had no faith. But I think everyone is like, is very confused. Like, especially everyone that was on set who made the thing and knows, like, they know how big of a nightmare it was. And so learning that, like, we got into South by Southwest, like, the initial news that we got into South by Southwest, I think really shocked every single person that was working on set. And then when we won, it was like, huh? Like, did he go and make another movie? Or what's going on? Yeah, I think every conversation I've had has felt like that. Has felt like, whoa, I didn't realize that it could be something that people would like to watch. So yeah, it was crazy. And even like the person who I love most, like Jay Duplass, I've had a conversation with him where he's like, I was worried. But when he was like the first one to see like the initial rough cut, he looked at me and was like, this is going to be really good. And I knew that, but like hearing him say that, because he's such a particular person, and it was such a rough cut also, hearing him say that was like everything.
All right, so you mentioned South by Southwest, and you definitely didn't have a conventional journey into South by Southwest. So from getting the film in there to I think there was like some momentum and excitement that, hey, this film, like, in an unconventional way,
the name stands out.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I remember I was at spring training when we learned that South by Southwest wasn't going to happen in the traditional way, and one of my first thoughts was your film because of the conversations I was having with Skin about it. And I sent him a text. I probably still have it. It was like, what is this going to do? And then a few days later, I think we both realized, wait a second, not that this is like a good thing, but this could end up still having some benefit because now these films that aren't getting these opportunities are going to get some attention. And it seemed like
get so much attention and get so much kindness.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, oh my gosh, these filmmakers, their dreams were dashed. And so they're just being incredibly nice about the movies. And like you're not going to see a bad review they're not going to put pour salt in the wound.
So then you guys win an award, Best Narrative.
It was like the grand jury prize for the feature. Yeah, narrative. I don't know.
Narrative
feature.
was in there. So okay, yeah. But it was this.
Yeah, it was the top award.
This is the we're not talking like consolation prize. Here's your party favor. Like this is we're raising the trophy here.
Yeah.
What has life been like since? I mean, I'm sure it's changed a little bit.
Yeah, it's been crazy because I'm basically just taking like a bunch of meetings, like Zoom meetings with like these crazy people who are just like, what do you want to work on next? And like, luckily I still have Helen Harper, which I still think is great.
So you still want to do that?
Yeah. And that's what I'm working on right now. And so everything has come from the South by Southwest experience.
All right. I want to get into Helen Harper and what's next. But I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about some exciting news.
Oh yes, we
got to discuss this. So this actually has not been released yet, but this will be released right after. So I haven't really even told anybody this, but House now has a home. So for the past like month since we won, we've been trying to find a distributor for the movie. But the news is IFC bought House. And that's the news, actually, the news that has really just, like, made me, not only did I not think that would ever happen, but, like, it's just so, last year, my favorite movie was this movie called Diane, and it's an IFC movie. And then, like, before that, I think literally the year before, my favorite movie that year was this movie called 45 Years. And, like, they're both these, like, incredible, like, House doesn't even compare, like, incredible movies that lived at IFC because IFC is this, like, this company that doesn't care as much about making movies that will make a lot of money. Like they do care about that. They have to like live as a company, but like they're just known for like finding these absolute gems that have like always been my favorite movies. And so when they gave us an offer, I was just like, I don't know, it just like broke down. Like this is what House can. Not to say it's like even close to like in a league of like those movies that I love at IFC, but just like the fact that they're willing to put their name on it is just like so cool to me. All right, so Helen Harper,
I can't say much about it, but
you're working on it.
I'm working on it. Yes.
Okay.
Like I went as soon as I stopped. Like I finished editing House like probably a week before. 2 weeks before South by Southwest got canceled. But as soon as I finished editing, I just went right into, because I knew that through this opportunity, I would get other opportunities. So I was just like, I went right to work on making sure Helen Harper was what I remembered. Because I remembered it being good. But then when I read it again, I was like, this isn't as good, but I've gone through and cleaned it up.
And the TV show. Okay.
Yes.
And do you have a preference, like moving forward, I'd like to do more films, TV shows?
No, I don't have a preference at all. Like
you just want good stuff.
I just want good stuff. Yeah, like Helen Harper is just like a TV show. Like if it were a movie, I think I'd want to make Helen Harper a movie. But it's like it has to be a TV show.
And on the acting side, are you gonna be?
Yeah, I want to act still. It's really hard because like now I have an agent and manager who are like, you need to write, act, and direct in everything you do from now on because they want to make money.
Yeah.
But I'm having to like have conversations and like try to like, and also it's been really helpful because Jay also writes, acts, and directs, and so talking to him about like what's the smartest thing to do moving forward. Because moving forward, I will have like say for this TV show, if I want to, I wrote it, but if I want to like act in it and direct the pilot, like I'll have a lot of money this time. So whereas I'll probably have a lot of PTSD from my experience with House, it won't be the same experience at all because I'll have all of this not only support and money, but like this, I'll have the trust of the people helping me make it because of House.
Cooper, there's got to be a kid somewhere around the world right now who's going to head to a school in the fall and
Yes.
might be in a position to do some of the things you're doing. So when you think of your experiences, and I don't mean this in the cliche, like, oh, what advice do you have for a kid? But like when you
Yeah.
really think about, like, if someone came to you the same way you went to Jay Duplass and they wanted to pick your brain, what are the core things you think you'd want to make sure to convey to them?
I think the best advice that I have is like really know what you want to do and what you care about doing. Once you and it's like a constant journey and like constant figuring out like what you want to do. But like I think that's the most important thing is like figuring out exactly what it is that you care about. Not maybe not like what you're good at, because like I think people tell you like figure out what you're good at and like stick to that. But like I think it's been really helpful to know like the very specific thing about like movie making and about creating that I love to like that spot that I love to live in. That's been really, really helpful because I've like the whole way through it's been helpful. And so I think that's my best advice is just like figure out what it is exactly that you care about doing.